by my attitude that I most definitely from.
Hello, everybody. Hello. We're back from Austin, Texas, where we did South by Southwest. We had a wonderful time. Tyler Crowley, are you still inside? Are you still there, Tyler? Or where are you?
I am phoning it in from Texas.
Phoning it in. Interesting choice of words there, Tyler.
Yes, Skyping it
in. The lack of insights has led many in the audience to believe that you've been phoning it in lately. Yeah. No pressure.
Okay.
And so, are you in Austin still?
Yes.
And are you in a movie theater right now?
No, I'm at my friend's house. He has a 12-person theater in his house.
Who's your friend, Bill Gates?
No. Surprisingly, the house is... You could buy this house in Santa Monica for... He paid... I don't want to tell you what he paid for the house. It's making me angry.
Okay. So houses are cheaper in Austin. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. This house would be $5 million in Santa Monica. He
really?
got it. Yeah, he got it for... I'm angry.
I like it. It looks like you're Siskel and Ebert or Roger and Ebert at the movies or something.
Yeah.
You're going to give us a review with the movie behind you there of Avatar or something.
Yeah.
So South by Southwest, huge success. Hundreds of people came to the This Week in Startups event. Tony Hsieh, wonderful guest. A little bit of technical problems. It happens sometimes. No big deal. Apologies to the fans in the audience who maybe couldn't hear everything. We'll get it right next time. It was good, I understand, for the people who were home. What'd you think of the show, Tyler?
Yeah, Tony is such a soft-spoken person in person.
Yeah.
That I recall when we had meetings with him back in, at the Zoppo's office outside of Vegas. In the middle of the meeting, I found myself saying, I can't hear what he's saying.
Yeah, he's a whisperer.
Yeah.
He's a CEO whisperer, but the book is doing fabulous. People really loved him as a guest, and it was just great to see all the fans there and hang out with them. So thanks to Bing and Sonos and Redpoint and all the other sponsors who helped us make it amazing. South by Southwest, just tons of debauchery and partying going on down there. Did you actually get anything accomplished? I know this is your vacation week, so
yeah.
Technically you don't have to get anything accomplished, but was there any business that you saw actually occurring at South by Southwest?
I think there was. I mean, I've bumped into a couple of really cool people that might become sponsors of this show, our other shows, and the Open Angel Forum shows, some Mahalo stuff. The most interesting thing in my mind about South by Southwest is there's the internet part, which we were all there for. Then there's the music part, which is going on now. And I think the most apropos line I could whip up for this is going to South by Southwest for the interactive and not staying for the music is very much akin to going out for drinks and not going back to her place. Because the music is such a much better part of, as an event.
Wow, that's a incredible insight, Tyler.
Insight from Tyler.
There you go. You got one under your belt already, and it's only 5 minutes into the show. What an amazing show we have today. We've got a creator on the show. We get a lot of times CEOs on the show. A lot of times we get investors. We haven't had enough actual creators, people who actually roll up their sleeves and build things. So I'm really excited to have David, hopefully I'm going to get this right, Heinemeier Hansson.
Right. Yep.
David Heinemeier Hansson. It's not that hard to say. Now, David Heinemeier Hansson is, of course, the creator of Ruby on Rails, a partner at 37 Signals, which is an amazing company. Where is it based?
37 Signals is
virtual?
all over the place.
Yeah, virtual company.
But half the company is in Chicago.
Half the company is in Chicago. And also, you're the creator of Basecamp, which many startups actually use every day.
Absolutely.
And so, man, we have a ton of things to talk about when we do the interview segment. But at the beginning of the show, people's favorite segment is to do Ask Jason, ask an entrepreneurial question. So why don't we just get that question right out of the way? And special thanks to Power VPS, our sponsor of the Ask Jason segment today. Power VPS provides fully managed virtual private hosting that's in the cloud. You know about cloud computing. You've done a little cloud computing in your day. And it starts as low as $59 a month. And TWiST viewers get 25% off the life of their plan. That's forever. I think that's what for life means. If you use the code TWiST. And what did they do, Tyler? They gave somebody hosting for life at the South by Southwest show. Is that right?
1 year.
Oh, 1 year. So they gave somebody free hosting for a year, plus some other stuff. They gave them free DNA mail for a year.
Correct.
And free internet access for a year, everything.
And an hour of consulting.
And an hour of consulting. And they can come here for lunch. Who won? What was the pillow company won?
Yes.
That was pretty interesting. The guy who made pillows won. So do we have the caller? Do we have the Ask Jason caller? Little infographic. Count us down. 2, 1. Okay. I hear a caller on the line. Angela, you're calling from the 704.
Yes, Charlotte.
Charlotte. Is that
North Carolina?
That's NC, right?
Yep.
North Carolina. Charlotte, North Carolina. They have a basketball team there, correct?
Yeah, the Bobcats, who Michael Jordan is now the majority owner of.
Yeah, that just happened this week. And he's got something to prove, huh? I mean, after the last couple of years, he really wants to get that team to the playoffs and to the finals.
Yeah, hopefully it'll work, because last season wasn't too good.
Yeah, well, try being a Knicks fan. No sympathy for anybody when you're a Knicks fan. So you have a question for us. Why don't you go ahead and tell us?
Sure. So I have a company, Blackweb Media, and our flagship property is Blackweb 2.0. And my main question is about your experience with Weblogs Inc. I really want to know if you think that model will work in the web business like today as it is now, if it needs modifications to actually work, and also if you think it'll work in a vertical or a specific niche like only sports or, in my case, only African-American websites.
Yeah, this is a great question. I get this question a lot. You know, you come up with a business idea. That was 2003, 2004 when we came up with that idea and started executing on it. So basically a series of websites connected together that share common ad sales, a common technology platform, and maybe some best practices for editorial, common design. That's a good idea. The problem today is it's a much more crowded space. So literally when we launched Autoblog and Joystick and Blogging Baby and Gadling and some of these things, we were the first like non-individual blog, you know, like not an individual's, you know, personal blog to actually come out. So Gizmodo was the first gadget blog and Gadget was the second. Autoblog was the first automotive blog of note, I guess. Jalopnik was the second. So it wasn't as crowded. Now it's much more crowded, so I think you have to pick a niche and do it really well. And so I think, sure, picking a demographic to go after and, you know, hitting it hard is great. You have to be really willing to invest money and go slow. These are like hot coal businesses. You have to like really build up the hot embers, when that basically means writing talent, brand, you know, readers. It takes a while. I think everybody wants it to happen overnight, and it's very difficult to do as the industry becomes more mature. What do you think?
Did it really matter about the network, though? Wasn't it more of like a hit business in the sense like you guys had Engadget, right?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't that way, way bigger than any of the other stuff?
Yes and no. It was definitely the Halo brand,
right.
And we definitely built things off of it. Little known fact, Autoblog was actually making more money than Engadget. So on a revenue basis, Autoblog was the #1 blog, and then on a traffic basis, clearly Engadget. But it wasn't. Engadget was maybe 30 or 40% bigger than the next sort of Joystick.
Right. Well, I was just in that sense, like, if you're going to start something new, why not just focus on one thing? Like, why start the network right away? Start the network once you have something that's like already
high quality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to invest in like having 10, 15, 20 blogs when you can just start to get going and see if there's any traction at all in that niche. If you can't sell any advertising on one blog, then probably not going to sell on 10.
It makes a good point. You know, it really depends on how many resources you have and how much experience you have. Is this your first like publishing endeavor, or have you been in the publishing business for 20 years?
No, this is my first publishing endeavor, but I've worked in the internet industry for a lot of other .coms, mainly ones that are owned by IAC.
Oh, really?
But we started our main site, Blackweb 2.0, in 2007,
right?
And we're just now starting to roll out other websites.
Yeah, so it's you can. One of the problems people make was there was a company called B5 Media, which aspired to be like a Weblogs Inc. or Gawker, and they said, we're going to do Gawker and Weblogs have a blog about celebrities and a blog about cars. Therefore, we're going to do a blog about every car and a blog about each celebrity. So they did the Britney Spears blog or blogging, whoever. And they went too niche. And none of those things were compelling enough for anybody to ever go to them, What you really have to do is learn how to connect with people and write stories that people are willing to retweet. This was always my benchmark for a great writer. If people were so compelled by a story that they felt the need to email it to somebody, instant message it to somebody, comment, that's a story of impact. So what I would tell you is forget about the big architecture of the network and how many blogs you're going to have, and start with that. Can you write a story that gets retweeted 10 times? And then once you get one that can be retweeted 10 times, can you do it 20 times? Can you get a story on the front page of Dig? And that's not all stories have to be on the front page of Dig. Not all stories have to be retweeted. But that was what made Engadget and Autoblog and those places special, was that they came up with really good ideas, the writers that we found, to make editorial you couldn't ignore. It had impact. It made people do something. So really start thinking about it on a per post basis and on a per writer basis. A lot of people think it was because we had 20 blogs all linking to each other and it made an SEO, or we would introduce joystick to the readers of Autoblog and Engadget, but it was actually much more granular than that. It was the writers. We found great writers who were passionate and who could come up with these stories that, again, were fascinating. That was the word we used internally. It's got to be fascinating, and fascinating means you would share it socially. We got rid of the writers who were just reblogging and weren't worth it. You're paying one writer $10 a blog post, another one $10 a blog post. One of them gets retweeted 7 times. One of them never gets retweeted. One of them gets 18 comments per story. The other one gets 3. Those are the way you should be making the decisions as to which one to go with. Tyler, you have any insights?
I thought this was going to be, I think it is a good question, but I selected this question as interesting because we don't get back much on your background on blogging networks. And I think the point that I was hoping would evolve out of this was the fact that different business models evolve over time. Blogging networks, what they were 5 years ago, it's not the same atmosphere online, that it's not the same opportunity that it was, when you were doing it.
It's absolutely possible for somebody to make a blog better than Engadget and Gizmodo right now, or a site that's a better, electronic site, but it will be hard to displace those, and it'll be hard to get people's attention from those. I like to find a beach that not so many people are surfing on. Maybe find a place where there's an opportunity to innovate in a way, in terms of the medium that hasn't been found by everybody, and the tide's coming in, so the waves get better and better. As opposed to the beach you're on right now, which is a very crowded beach. Maybe there's something in mobile, for mobile news, something, if I thought about this, if I was going to do Weblogs Inc. again, there were 2 different ways I would do it. I would do a Weblogs Inc. of Twitter, 140 posts, and a Weblogs Inc. of blogs. Well, guess what? That's what This Week In is. That's what I'm doing right now. With This Week In is the Weblogs Inc. of streaming shows, and I got a CEO for it, and we're basically doing the same topics, but just in this format. So
I think it also matters just picking something you care about. Like, what are you not getting out there? Like, what is the kind of blogs that you think are missing and that you're personally interested in doing? I think sometimes it becomes a little easy to, or it looks like it's easy to just identify niches that are not already filled, that you don't really truly care about. But then, are you going to do a good job? Like, all the posts, for example, on Signal versus Noise, which is our blog, we have 110,000 RSS readers. Like, none of that stuff matters. Everything that matters is how we get traffic to this blog is by writing something when we're truly passionate about it. When we're really fired up and we have an angle in the story, and that's going to get all the traffic. Like, all the sort of filler in between is sort of, okay, you get something going, but none of it would work without that passion about the single topic you care about.
It's a really good point about passion. I tend to write my email newsletter when I'm either extremely pissed off about something, like Keiretsu Forum charging people, or Facebook, ripping apart the privacy of their user base, or I'm absolutely in love with something and I can't not write about it because I just think Google Buzz, it was so brilliantly executed, even though some people might disagree, or some other thing that I'm just absolutely in love with. And truth be told, Jason Fried and I have gotten into it on the Signal to Noise blog. I've written things that I'm passionate about hard work, and then he wrote one thing writing back. I said fire the good people, only keep the great people in your company. He wrote Backfire the Workaholics.
Yeah, that was actually my my
story.
That yours?
Yeah, so that was a great, I thought it was Jason's, but back and forth, we had two people, probably not totally dissimilar in terms of, who they are, but maybe they just found something they're both passionate about a different way. Or they're just link baiting.
Yeah, I think, though, being passionate about the topics to the point where you can't not write the story. Like, so the weblog becomes an outlet for the stories you can't not write. Like, then there might be just some work that's just keeping it going, keeping people interested, but it's such a hit business. Yeah. It's such a hit story business that's really what you got to be focused on. Which is just, it's hard to be focused on hits for like 10 sites, like to get going.
Very hard, yeah. Yeah, I think people also get caught up in the number of posts and keeping up with the Joneses and covering everything, and that's the big trap, is when you try to cover every story and you think you have to be a completist, and I've got to cover every single gadget that's released. That's Gizmodo and Engadget's job now. To compete with them, you have to zig where they zag. You would have to do something that they haven't thought of yet. Maybe they don't actually, use the products and do incredibly long reviews. So instead of doing 20 posts a day, you do one where you actually use the product under a stress test for 24 hours and, really try to find a bullet pointed list of the 10 best things, 10 worst things, or the 100 best things, 100 worst things, something really comprehensive. Again, passion and fascinating. I think these are two very important words for your business.
Awesome. Thank you for answering the question. That was great. Looking forward to implementing some of those ideas. Jason, I wanted to see if we could invite you to a conference that we're having in May in D.C. called the New Media Entrepreneurship Conference.
Okay. Tyler's gig. So Tyler at Mahalo, he handles all the scheduling. I did take the year off from speaking gigs, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it because I got a kid. But I'll try. You seem not incredibly aggressive about your project, so I am going to give you a prescription. I think you need to watch Black Hawk Down this weekend, which is just nonstop mayhem from start to finish. Then I would like you to watch a movie called The Mission, Robert De Niro. And then I would like you to get Gladiator and just watch the fight scenes. You can fast forward through everything else. And just the fight scenes. You can watch the other two movies, the whole movies, because they're very inspirational. Gladiator, just compress it down to the fight scenes, and then you'll come back into next week with a little bit more aggression and passion to go crush this. But good job, and we will. You've been a fan of the show for a long time, or is this the first time you're watching?
Since your first episode.
Oh, really? Wow,
yeah, absolutely.
40 episodes in.
It's awesome.
Thanks, I appreciate that. We will talk to you soon, and stay in touch. Everybody out there, check out BlackWeb20, the number 2, the number 0, and also twitter.com/BlackWeb20. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
It's kind of cool. You're helping people, giving them advice. If you're an entrepreneur, it's a very lonely thing sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
People don't understand that. They think, oh my God, entrepreneurs, they're so social, and a lot of times you're just there alone on the weekend trying to make something work.
Which is also why you have to not be able to do anything else. Like, you're going to go off on this lonely voyage, so you got to love it, the work itself. Right. And that's sometimes what I found with some startups is they don't love the work itself enough. And they love the game. Like, if you love the startup game, that's something else entirely. And I don't think that that's what it takes to really make it.
Yeah.
So, like, finding a niche, like, if you're already talking about, well, I could do this thing, or do this thing, or do the other thing, I'm getting like
a little red flag.
Yeah, a little red flag there. You should have like one thing like, goddamn,
I want to solve this problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to make a piece of software like Basecamp that makes it really easy to manage projects.
As you're saying, like,
lightweight.
You're personally annoyed by something, or you're personally like, I gotta have this.
Right. Pain point is a great way to start finding a business, and a personal pain point even the better. Now, you're from Denmark.
Yes.
Copenhagen, I take it? Or?
Copenhagen, yep.
It's one of my favorite cities, I go to Tyler and I were in Copenhagen last year. Tyler, when were we in Copenhagen?
Yeah, about a year ago. Well, it was freezing cold. It must have been January, February.
Yeah, and we went to a really great place for sandwiches, Ida Davidson.
Ida Davidson, yeah.
Yeah, and I have a picture of it here. We can pull up on my laptop. Look at these sandwiches, Tyler. Does that remind you of something? We have to get the Mahalo. Get the This Week. Should we take the Mahalo jet or the This Week in Startups jet?
Or I thought you were going to say This Week in Sandwiches.
This Week in Sandwiches is coming, but let's get the This Week in Startups jet fueled, and we have somewhere to go this week in Ida Davidson. If you're in Copenhagen, you've been to this place, right?
I have. The funny thing is actually that place is not the best place to go sandwich.
What?
It's the most well-known
famous
place to go get sandwiches, but there's much better places in.
And these sandwiches are brown bread
Yep.
with this dense, delicious bread with the butter on it.
Right.
And
It's
then they
really filling.
Oh, and then they put roast beef or caviar, salmon,
Yep.
whitefish, shrimp, and each one's a piece of art.
Absolutely.
Delicious.
So much more interesting than just the close. Why close your work in between two pieces of bread? You
Right.
can't put it on display.
Guess how many of those sandwiches Tyler had when we were there? You go 4 or 3. I think I went 4. You went 3.
Those are big sandwiches.
They are.
I ordered 3.
He looks like a big guy though. So.
I think we both had 3. It was incredible.
It's good.
What incredible place. So the next part of the show that everybody loves is called Shark Tank. This is where people pitch us their business idea. Shark Tank is sponsored by DNA Mail. DNA Mail, everybody loves DNA Mail. You don't have like your own email server. You host that with somebody, right? Use
Gmail, all the way.
Awesome. So DNA Mail provides hosted Microsoft Exchange and Google Apps email. Much more economical. You pay per user. There's no other cost. It's reliable, 99.9 gazillion nines or something like that, uptime. And why would you, as a startup, be screwing around with putting up servers and stuff like that? Just outsource this. And there was a wonderful story on the blog.
Why would you even pay for it, though? That's
yeah. Well, if you want a domain name and you want to have some support and backups and that kind of stuff. And some people have to use Exchange, so there is a little bit of a religion.
I don't think anybody has to do anything, but they might think they do. But you have your own domain and something like Google. Like I have my loudthinking.com address.
But if you want to have unlimited storage,
who's going to need more than 5 gigabytes of storage?
Trust me, because you know what? I keep all my attachments in there.
I
get, you know how many PowerPoints I get?
Gigs, it's almost full.
What's that, Tyler?
I have 7 gigs. It's almost full. And the other cool thing about the DNA Mail setup is they'll let you share your contact groups with anyone else that you want.
That's a good feature.
Yeah.
Anyway, DNA Mail. Everybody loves DNA Mail. Thank you for sponsoring the program.
Slacking the sponsors here, yeah.
No, it's okay. I mean, listen, everybody has to ask these questions. You know, should you do that or should you do this? Sure, you could use Gmail for free. You can use Google Apps for free and have ads in it. Or you can get a higher level of service. Different companies have different needs. And a lot of people have these executives who want Microsoft Exchange. I mean, if you're doing a sales team, a lot of them, it's like you can't get them onto Gmail, but they do also Google Apps, so you can get either one you want. Thank you to DNA Mail for hooking us up. And there was a great post on the site about somebody who watches the show, forwarded somebody onto DNA Mail, and they wound up spending 20 grand a year on DNA Mail and saving 20 grand a year on their existing IT costs, which is a win-win, and they've been a sponsor from the beginning. Let's get our Shark Tank caller on the air. On microphone. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, we have Devrim. Devrim from the 707. How are you doing, Devrim?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Have you watched Gladiator recently? No?
No.
Okay, you're gonna have to watch
Gladiator. It was like 10 years ago or something.
Oh, okay. We're going to have a new thing, Tyler. I think everybody's going to have to give a Gladiator, Black Hawk Down quote when they call in. It'll be like a fun little salutation. Are you not entertained? Is that not why you have come here? So, Devrim, where is the 707?
707 is my Google Voice. I'm actually in Manhattan.
Oh, you're in Manhattan?
Yeah.
What neighborhood in Manhattan? My old haunt?
It's Upper East.
Upper East Side. I would never go there. I wouldn't go above like 60th Street when I lived in Manhattan, but that's like going to Connecticut. Upper East Side. And you've listened to the show for a long time? Are you new?
Yeah, I've been watching that for a year actually. I mean, thanks for the great show.
Have we been doing this for a year? When was the first show?
I don't know. I mean,
when did we launch the first show? I have no idea. Somebody got to look up on the blog and then type that into the notes there so I can see it. I think is this the 45th show?
That's 45th.
This is 46? Yeah. That means we're probably, because it's 52 weeks in a year, right?
Usually.
I was just searching for startups on iTunes, and then you came up like, I don't know, maybe a year or less.
That's how you found it. You were looking for startups, and you found us.
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful to, see all these people. And I've been a big fan of 37 Signals as well. Like, I learned a lot about getting real book. I mean, that's one of the few companies that I have, like, great respect for.
It's got quite a cult following. You're on Shark Tank now. You know the rules. You have 60 seconds.
Yes.
Everybody who's in the chat room, get ready. We're going to ask you to do 2 ratings, everybody. Oh my God, there's 700 people watching the show? Thanks. My God. How many people do you have on your Twitter account?
You
got a lot
20-ish thousand or something.
20,000? These must be very active people. So anyway, 700 people, no pressure. You've got the company that you are a cult fan of, 37 Signals here, the creator of Ruby on Rails, Hacker of the Year from 2005. You've got myself here, your other favorite entrepreneur of all time. Only 700 people. There is no pressure on you. I'm just going to ask the audience to rank your actual performance on a scale of 1 to 10 for 2 things.
Okay.
1 is the quality of your pitch, and 2 is the quality of your idea. So, everybody in the chat room, you're going to write pitch, a number, space, idea, a number. Tyler, you'll also give us a number for both those things? David?
I'll give
a
you
number, and we'll give them feedback. So this is the real deal here. You're going to get a quantifiable number. We have the This Week in Startups clock on the screen, I see. Wow, that's very nice, Kenny. Thank you for that. A little infographic. The show is getting better and better thanks to our sponsors, giving us the money to invest in this technology here. Are you ready, Devrim?
Ready.
3, 2, go.
CodingGen is a free development environment for all developers in the world. In short, developers can code using a browser, and organizations can create online development teams. And the whole development efforts and hosting can be completed online. CodingGen is DNA mail for development teams. We launched a month ago, 50,000 page views, 4,500 signups. Matt Mullenweg said, keep me posted on this project, and we are already on the WordPress showcase. CEO of the hosting company we used when our servers were melting, one of the biggest in the UK, is considering being an angel. A leading IT magazine in Germany published an article saying that CodingGen has an enormous potential. CodingGen has made $1,000 on the first month from a few advertisements we have on the front page, and currently we have more than 30 companies who are using CodingGen on a day-to-day basis. My brother and I are lead developers. We ran an outsourcing company for 7 years. Our market size is 8 million developers. With only found 1% of the developer market, CodingGen becomes $5 million cash positive. Our marketing is viral. Just tweets from happy developers has worked out great.
And you're done.
We are looking for $100,000.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So your audio is a little bit weak.
I didn't actually get what does the thing do.
What does the thing do was the thing that was missing. We understand that a lot of people have it already. It's made some amount of money, but I couldn't get what it actually did. The audience is saying they don't know what happened. The pitch, they're giving a 1. The idea, they're putting a question mark. You're basically getting all question marks. So you've been crushed. This is the first time ever that people are refusing to even rate the thing because you didn't tell us what the product is. So don't worry. This is good that you did it on This Week in Startups. We only have 75,000 people listening within the 2 weeks after the show.
Was the audio so bad, or like?
The audio is bad, and then I couldn't tell the name of the company, and I didn't get from you. The only thing I got that was a hint at what the company does was that it's the DNA for developers. So I thought maybe this is some sort of management tool for developers, but I don't know if it's for managing the project or what. So why don't you try one more time? Tell us the name of the company.
The name of the company is CodingGen. It's a free development environment for all developers in the world. That's
CodingM?
CodingGen. It's I made an easy URL for you. It's forjason.com. You just I don't have to spell that.
Okay.
What does a development environment mean?
It is. We created a kind of an Eclipse or code editor online and a hosting environment. You go sign up and then you start coding, and then we give you hosting. We give you a free environment, MySQL databases, SVN repositories, like everything a developer needs is on the website.
Okay.
So you don't have to. Okay.
Coding one?
No, it is KODINGEN.
KODINGEN.
What programming languages are you guys doing this for?
Yeah, Salzano got it actually on the chat room.
Okay, so question was, okay, here we go. I think I've got the site up on. Can you pull up the site here? Did I get the URL right? It's
Cloud Development Environment.
Welcome to the Cloud Developing Environment. Okay.
Yes.
So, let me. What David and I are going to do right now is teach you how to pitch.
Okay.
Because we have two problems here. There's a lot of problems with this pitch, so we're going to have to clean it up. But shockingly, when I pulled up your website, it actually looks somewhat professional. So if you had to pick, your pitch sucks, but your website is pretty good, you would take that. So number one, the name of the site is very hard to spell and to type in. And rule number one, or to hear,
right?
Coding in. So you've named your site code, and then a suffix, and then another suffix. Coding in. So the K could be a K or a C. ING, we know that's ING. EN could be EN or IN. You've basically given me 4 by 17 ways to misspell this. It would be better for you to call it code 57, like 37 signals, where there's absolutely no way for you to misspell it. You really want names that are hard, that are easy to say. So that was.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We are thinking of changing it, but it's like, we started out like this, and then it's just going to be there. Yeah. But I'm aware of that problem.
Okay. So then the second thing is, this is a cloud computing development environment. Is that what you got out of it, David?
Sort of. I mean, from the pitch, I didn't understand what it meant at all. I think you perhaps, if this is for developers, you don't have to take it so high level. Like, the people you're pitching know the technology. So the sooner you get down to the nitty-gritties of what this thing actually does and what it works with, like, you didn't say anything about programming language, you didn't say anything about the technology, which is fine if you're pitching regular people, but you're pitching developers, so they want to know the details.
Yeah, but like on this 60 seconds, I wanted to just we have a product ready and it's on the market. So sorry about that. I mean, if you go to the feature list, that it becomes a little SVN, XML, buzzword. So, but I take that.
So, what is the development language or what are the development languages that you use? Where I see you have MySQL here, PHP, Apache, Ruby on Rails.
Ruby on Rails, Perl. If you click on any file on the left, you will see it on the right. So, if you just did that, that shows what it is. You just click on any file that you are developing on, and then you can call it online, and you have your json.codingn.com immediately available for you. You could add team members. You could just, everything a development environment needs is there. Okay.
It feels to me like, might I say, Google Docs for developers?
Yeah, there's another startup called Heroku that does something similar just for Ruby on Rails. And I think that maybe part of the problem with some of these things is if you try to do everything, like you try to encompass all the different technologies that people could possibly use, how are you going to optimize for any one of them? And if you're not going to optimize for any one of them, then it's going to be lowest denominator and everything, which, like, what's the level of developers you guys are targeting? Because, like, are you targeting newbies who will have problems setting this stuff up themselves, or are you targeting developers who already know what they're doing?
Well, actually, our development environment online is not as powerful as Eclipse, as you would know. So what we are trying to do is actually creating a native API to the cloud servers. So if you check our site, you could create a server and then run commands right from that server. So when you add someone to your team, you don't have to give them any SVN passwords, FTP passwords, or any passwords at all. You just take people to your team and then remove it, and you have no connection with the developer anymore. So you're not worried about the security and everything. So if the online editor that we put right now, we are using Bespin from Mozilla. So if that's not okay, if that doesn't evolve to an Eclipse in the future, people still can connect with their desktop tools like FTPs and Eclipse, and they can still develop it. The real deal there is that we give databases and SVN and all the, like, whatever Google Apps giving to the IT or companies to make them more productive, we do it for the IT departments.
Okay, so looking at it here, pull it up on the screen. David can see it. My screen's bugging out a little bit. But anyway, you can see it's a 3-pane design. I could pull up the test.cfm for Cold Fusion or test.html or test.asp. And I guess I can edit here, invite people to it. I can manage my servers from here. I could one-click install applications, I guess, like Ruby or something. I can manage my database here. So it is a cloud computing sort of thing. So is your competitor EC2? Who's the competitor for this?
You guys use EC2 underneath, right?
Yes, we do use EC2. We use VPS.NET right now. We are going to move to our dedicated servers. But our competitors are not there almost. Like one is only for PHP, one is on stealth mode. And what we are doing right here, not competing with EC2, you get EC2 servers. We give you a native API to work with them. Like if you have like 10 EC2 servers, if you add someone to your team, they will be able to access to those servers from the website.
I get it. So the web interface for all those servers. Okay, interesting. I think, so you have 2 developers who are the founders of this company?
Yes, me and my brother.
Oh, that's great. So most companies I meet, they've got a business guy or a marketing guy and no technical people. And my interest in investing in a company without a technical person is zero as an angel investor. Because then I think, oh my God, these guys have no understanding of the technology, whatever. And the only person who I would do that with, if it was, Evan Williams or, Jack or, whoever, some Mark Pincus or something, somebody who's a seasoned entrepreneur, they've done 2 or 3 companies, they don't have their hands in code anymore, but you know that they have the wherewithal and the ability to manage technical people. So you're in good shape that way, which makes it very interesting for angel investors. But what you lack, I think, is clarity and marketing message. And that's what David is a little frustrated with, I can tell. What do you do? What problem do you solve? And these are the questions that you have to ask yourself. What problems do we solve? And then how do you explain that in your product? Something like Basecamp or the other 37 Signals products are very clear about the value proposition and what it is and what it isn't. I mean,
because the one thing I got out of your thing was like worrying about security for developers. That's just not, I don't recognize that as a pain point of anybody I've talked to. Like them being worried about if you hire a developer, you don't want to give them your FTP password. You shouldn't be hiring that guy if you don't want to give them your FTP password. And just one more comment, like in your pitch, I heard like the one red flag whenever I hear a pitch is like, if we just get 1% of the market, oh my God.
Forget that. Yeah, that statement is death. But let's look at, as a comparison, because this will lead nicely into the interview, let's look at the 37 Signals homepage, which I have up here. And it is extraordinarily clear. Manage projects and collaborate with your team and clients. And there's even a subhead, which gets into the tactical pieces. Share files, meet deadlines, assign tasks, centralize feedback. So you get like the sort of big picture and I guess some of the details. Organize and share information across your business with Backpack. It's the quickest way to create and share information with your whole team. I look at that and say, I guess that's like a wiki or something like that, or some organization.
That's actually a good point, because that's the hardest one we have to explain. Backpack is sort of a weird one to explain, and we've had problems because of that.
Yeah, and so Campfire, real-time chat, file and code sharing for remote teams. Campfire is like instant messaging, but designed specifically for groups. I get that.
Right.
If I have a bunch of developers and they're in an IRC chat room and they're trying to do code sharing, this is a better solution. Chat with your group is the tagline. Track your contacts is the tagline of Highrise. Track your contacts, leads, and deals. Always be prepared. Keep track of past conversations, calls, and emails. That to me sounds like Salesforce, but maybe a better or simpler version. So I don't know how you do this, David, but you must really think about this and suffer over these 2 sentences and a tagline and the name of the project, correct?
Absolutely. And this is, again, addressing specific annoyances that we've had.
Right.
Like, we had the problem where IRC or IM was not enough, and we came up with Campfire.
Right.
So I think that sometimes you get into trouble when you're designing for other people, because it becomes a lot harder to explain, because you're trying to basically explain somebody else's grievances or annoyances.
Right.
So it's like, are you guys actually using your own tool right now to build your tool?
Yeah. We designed it in PHP, and it's...
so you guys are using that editor to build the site itself?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's a good start for it.
It feels almost
because we thought, like, I mean, if we don't really use our own thing, we couldn't tell others to use it.
Absolutely. No, so that's at least a good starting point.
Yeah, it feels to me like you guys are the typical 2 3 founders who, in some case, I'm taking it that's a Russian accent, maybe?
No, Turkish.
Turkish, great. A lot of immigrant founders of companies. They have great technology, whatever. But it's difficult, I think, sometimes with the language difference and, marketing for a developer. You have like 2 challenges. One, you're a developer, which means you're probably not great at marketing and communicating. That's typical, I think. I don't want to make a major stereotype, but that might be 60 or 70%.
I won't take too much offense.
But that might be 60 or 70% of developers.
No, I agree.
Or the majority. They're not naturally marketers, just like marketers are not naturally coders. And then you also have the English barrier. So in the pitch, it was a little harder to hear you. So you need to be aware of those 2 things. I don't know if it's politically incorrect for me to say that to you, that the accent is could be challenging, but you need to be aware of it because I'm trying to be honest with you about it. I had a hard time understanding you. Tyler's got an insight. Go ahead.
You know what this pitch reminds me of is a homeless hottie at a hip hop club.
Okay, explain.
And so what I mean by that is sometimes you're at the club and you see the girls that get all dressed up. They're actually not that hot, but they know how to make themselves look hot.
Right.
And then once in a while you'll see these kind of, she looks like she's homeless, but if she knew how to take care of herself, she could be incredibly hot. And that's so much.
Is that Pygmalion? Is that the play Pygmalion? Is that the play?
Maybe. Yeah, there's certainly maybe a Shakespeare.
It's Pygmalion, where the guy goes and he finds somebody who's sort of, and then he. Okay,
right. And developers on their own have a hard enough time communicating, what they're. They have a hard enough time designing the interface so that people understand what they're doing. And if the core of your company is developers, somebody needs to have a skill set of how to communicate this stuff to what their investors and engineers.
So what Tyler is saying here is a homeless hottie at a hip hop club. Wonderful insight, Tyler. Got 2 under his belt. The pressure is off. All is forgiven. Too great. Yeah. People are going crazy in the chat room for this one.
This is what happens when you go on vacation.
So I guess the way you could say it is sometimes you have a 6 trying to make themselves look like a 10, and sometimes you have a 10 that hasn't taken care of themselves in their appearance and they look like a 7 or a 6. Something like that. In other words, what they're saying is you got potential to be a 10. That's pretty good.
I mean, I think something went wrong with the audio or something. Like,
okay. Yeah, a little bit. The audio is a little rough, but also your accent with the name of the site being hard to spell was like a double strike. We couldn't. We tried like 10 times to get the name of the site out of you. So that was the difficult part. And you wouldn't think that those things matter, but I tell you, a lot of those little things, they start adding up as red flags to investors, potential partners. Like, it has to be clear, and the logo needs to be good, and simple. That's why Twitter has a nice logo, and it's easy to spell. And
I think that might be a little bit overrated, but I do think if you can't hear what the name is and then look it up on the web, that's going to be a problem. Yeah. So I would totally change the name. Don't worry about.
Jason, I hear you guys, but you also have to consider like two guys doing it on the side, and plus we have over 3,000 signups. I mean, if those things were that bad as you mentioned,
that's awesome.
That's why why Tyler says you're a hottie, you're the homeless hottie in the hip hop club or whatever his metaphor is. The fact is, there's good stuff here.
Right.
We believe you. 3,000 people signed up. The interface is pretty slick looking. I mean, it's obvious somebody has some design skill, and the idea is pretty good. I could see David sort of nodding once he got into the idea a little bit. I started nodding. Okay. There might be a problem here. You have virtual, a bunch of different coders working on something. You want to have a web interface to get to the stuff. Maybe people want controls. Maybe they don't. Maybe I've got such a big site, I want one person working on something, but not FTPing files there. But I agree.
If I respond to David, like for a second, if we are talking about startups, all the startups I know in New York, I know more than 20. They get people from Odesk, and that's a real pain point.
They get people from where?
From Odesk. Like, you hire someone from China, you hire someone from India, you hire them for like 10 hours, 20 hours on a small thing. So not everyone is like 37 Signals savvy on their tech infrastructure. And when they started out on my last gig, the CEO was spending like $4,000 on the servers only, and all those things were running only like MySQL, SVNs, and like simple stuff. So when we give that out for free, people appreciate that. And developers appreciate that we don't charge them anything for hosting. They just get a free account, free domain, free database, and they don't have to install anything to their desktop computers. And that's how we started. And I took Jason's advice, like launch early, launch crappy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the crappy part. Like we just launched a month ago. So that's why it's like missing right in there. And I take all your feedback. Good. Because we're aware of them.
I'll tell you what I like about. We have to wrap this call up because we're going for 22 minutes, but and I don't want to run out of show. What I do like about this call, I will say, is that I do not have to prescribe an abundance of Gladiator or Black Hawk Down because you have fight in you. When people started poking at your baby and saying your baby's ugly, your baby's got a bad name, you fought, which means that you care. So then, what you've got to do, David, very arrogant guy. Myself, tremendously arrogant. No.
Wikipedia used to say
Wikipedia says David is incredibly arrogant. Tyler, I can tell you, is insufferably arrogant. No, he's not. Tyler's a humble guy. That's why we work well together. He's a very humble, deft guy, and I'm a very arrogant guy. But that's good. You're confident, and you've seen Black Hawk Down, and you've seen Gladiator, correct?
I guess.
You guess? You guess if you've seen these? Okay, you need to go watch these movies because you have that fight in you, and I like that. So it's a great start. I'm going to have superfan Scott Simcoe check in with you like maybe in 30 days and see how progress is going, and we're going to track your story. And I think that you got great potential. I appreciate you calling in to the Shark Tank.
Okay, thank you very much.
Take care. I like when the guy gets a little defensive at the end. Although it's like, we've all been there as entrepreneurs, right? When people start poking your baby and telling you, like, this sucks, like, oh, Basecamp doesn't have this feature, and Ruby on Rails doesn't scale, and they start poking you, you got to fight.
You do.
Yeah, same thing happens when you tell the homeless girl she's got to, wear a nicer dress.
Right, Tyler.
From my experience,
you're the kind of guy who would actually go up and tell them that. Like, you need to get your hair did.
Right.
Absolutely. David, you've had a pretty epic career. You've done a lot of great things. How did this all start? I mean, how did you get into technology? Take me back to when you got your first computer.
Sure.
How did you get into the technology? How did you get into technology, and then how did you get into the technology industry, which is really two separate questions.
Right. So I got my first computer when I was 6, and then not long thereafter, I had a bunch of friends who were programmers. And if there was one thing I took away from that was I was definitely not going to be a programmer. Because sort of being a programmer in late 80s, early 90s, at least for the programmer I was exposed to, was like C++ and assembler and so on. I was like, no interest at all.
No interest in the Visual Basic?
No, not that either. And then I started actually getting into gaming journalism. So I did a bunch of gaming review sites. And part of that was...
What is this, 1995, 96?
This is 97. Yep, 97 okay. I get
Early
going
days.
with this stuff. Tracking like Quake 3 was one of the first sites we have. I had Quake3.dk for like tracking all the news about the upcoming Quake game. And in the beginning I was just using another programmer. But then sort of as time went on, I just got annoyed that whenever I had to get something done, I had to ask somebody else.
Right, pain in the neck.
Exactly. So just learn the shit yourself and then do it yourself was my philosophy for it. So I picked up some skills for doing PHP and was like, all right, this is not that hard. I can do this. Wired up, and then around 2001, I'd been doing this gaming stuff for some time, and I actually worked at an incubator.
Oh, really?
Which,
in Denmark?
In Denmark, yep.
Wow.
And
so the incubators made it there too?
They made it there too, but I could see which way they were going, and that way was down.
Why?
So,
why?
Well, just the whole industry. Like, these guys were paying me a fairly nice salary. We had no idea how we were ever going to make money. We were just burning venture capital, and like this didn't seem like it was going to pan out.
Even in Denmark, they were getting venture capital? Was it from like a...
It was actually from a bank, which was even worse because I think some of the guys were on the hook for the money and had to pay it off.
This is what people don't realize. In the United States, you get a venture capital or whatever, even a loan, you're not personally on the hook. But in Europe and in Asia, you have to sign a guarantee as an individual that you will pay that money. So if your business tanks, your startup tanks in Europe, what happens?
Totally. Yeah, you're on the hook for the money. Thankfully, I wasn't signing anything anywhere, but the boss is dead, and they were on the hook for, I think, a few million, and they have to pay that off.
They have to pay it off, or they have to sell their homes?
I knew at least one guy who was otherwise a great guy, but he got stuck with a huge bill that took him years and years to pay off, even after he got a great job somewhere else.
screw up entrepreneurship in Europe? Is this why Europe isn't as competitive as the United States and Asia is not as competitive as the United States in terms of entrepreneurship?
I think there's some of that. Like when the risk is if this thing fails, you're going to be broke forever.
Right.
Then you're probably going to be a little bit more hesitant. But I think you should just flip that around and then see, all right, what could I do without the money?
Right.
Like that's my preferred approach anyway.
Right.
Like, don't waste your time raising money. Don't waste your time doing all these things. Do it on the side for as long as you can, and then once it has legs, you can focus on it full time. But don't like try to just put everything into one basket and like this is either this is going to work or my life is going to suck.
Swinging for the fences,
Seriously.
maybe not your style.
No,
maybe
absolutely not.
You like to get the singles and doubles, build up the revenue, find the customer base, and maybe not be beholden to a huge check or to a huge VC.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a misconception that startups need external financing.
I agree. My first 2 startups, no external financing. Built them off revenues.
That's by far the preferred way to go in my mind.
And why is it the preferred way to go?
Because all these bad things happen once you start taking other people's money and spending other people's money. There's nothing easier in the world than spending somebody else's money. And you'll start making bad choices in my mind.
Right.
Especially if this is if you haven't already learned how to make your own money,
you're
not going to learn it when you just take somebody else's.
Right.
You're going to burn it on too much staff, too many computers. You're going to have too much of a runway. You're not going to have that fire in your ass that I need to make this work right now, otherwise I can't go on doing it. When you have like a 2-year runway, then let's goof around for 6 months. Let's figure out how all this is going to work. Money's something we can worry about later. Bullshit.
Right. Now, flipping the coin, this is a very convenient argument. I used this argument when I was starting my career because no VCs would take a meeting with me, frankly. I didn't have access to that capital.
Right.
So my first company, I built it off my credit cards, built it at $12 million in revenue.
Yep.
Second company, I started building Weblogs Inc., going very well. Mark Cuban invested a couple of $100,000. We were friends. We never actually spent that money. Turned out really well. So I had like angel financing in the middle. Third company, Mahalo, very big idea. It's going to take a lot of people. It's going to take many years. I raised a buckload, a large amount of capital for a small percentage of my company. Still maintain a lot of ownership in it. Do you think, now that you're becoming established in your career, if you have a great idea that takes a lot of people and you can raise $10 million for 20% of your company, still maintain control, and you would actually think about it, or are you just dead set against it?
Dead set against it. So for 37
So is it a
a
religious thing?
No, it's a very practical thing. Like first, I don't want to be beholden to anybody else, especially if I actually should ever get to the point, and I have no motivations of doing it. I'm in 37 Signals for the next 20 years. Right. So
you found what you want to do.
I found what I want to do. But even if I didn't,
right.
if I had, like, let's say we sold a company, and we got a great payday, why wouldn't I pick an idea I believe enough in myself to put in my own money to do it? Again, not thinking that I'm going to spend $20 million building this, but if it takes just a little bit to get it off the ground, let's just fund it on my own.
In fairness, 37 Signals, how many team members?
16 people.
16 people. The products are not as robust as, say, Facebook or LinkedIn. You would agree?
Much more complicated. Complication.
Yes,
I would
much bigger things. It takes many more people and much more money to build something at the scale of Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, wouldn't you say?
No.
The infrastructure costs of Facebook, all the terabytes and terabytes of stuff. I mean, that's hard cost.
Right, but if you build a company that's not just about begging for advertising crumbs, which these companies to a large extent are, like you build a company that scales in the sense that if you need more hardware, you get more money in revenues. Like we ran off one server with Basecamp for the first year. By the time we had to buy server number 2, who gave a rat's ass? Like it didn't matter that it costed another $500 to get another server because by then revenues were so far ahead of cost.
Basecamp has how many users a month?
I think
tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
Facebook, hundreds of millions. I mean, you're talking about a totally different scale. You couldn't do if Basecamp was hundreds of millions of users, and it grew on the path that Facebook or Twitter grew. It would by default require some kind of investment. It would take tens of millions of dollars.
But we would be paying for that investment off the revenues. So if we get another million customers tomorrow, we're going to have great problems. We're going to have the problems of we now get a huge amount of money into the company, and we can spend some of that money on buying servers. The problem I have is when people go the other way around, where actually getting more users is a problem, not a good thing. Like when Facebook gets another, I don't know, maybe they're at a different point now. But if you're not making any money and you're just getting more users, that's not good. Like you're just spending more money. You're not getting more.
So you don't subscribe to the swing for the fences, raise a bunch of capital, get tens of millions of users, and then figure out how to make money from it later.
Absolutely not.
Right. Interesting. I thought like you for a while, and then I changed my mind.
What changed your mind?
There is an unlimited amount of capital in the world. We live in one of the richest times ever in the history of mankind. There are resources everywhere. The resources are there freely for people with big, ambitious ideas to get those resources and build big, like YouTube did, like Google did, like Facebook did.
Why do you want to build big? Especially if we take something like YouTube, right? So they spend how many millions getting to the point of acquisition? Then Google spends another $1.6 billion buying them, 5 years ago? And only now they're sort of figuring out how to make money?
Right.
Like they were just talking about getting to break even now.
80% market share in videos.
Who the hell cares? I could not give a rat's ass about market share if it doesn't mean outside profits.
Right.
And I think this is exactly where Apple has it dead on right. Like people were for a long time saying, "Oh, the Mac is only like 7% of the market share."
Right.
Like who cares if they have an outsized portion of the profits? That really matters. Same thing with the iPhone. The iPhone has what 10% of smartphone markets, and Apple has like 35% of the profits. Right. That's the position to be in. And that's what I think like the baseline for all these businesses is.
Right.
The only thing that matters in the end is profits.
Right.
Market share doesn't matter. It matters if it leads to profits. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Number of people doesn't matter. The amount of technology doesn't matter. None of this shit matters unless it leads to profits.
Right.
And I think there's just a much easier way to get to profits than going through the worrying about getting 85% market share or any of this other stuff. And this is what annoys me about pulling stuff like YouTube and Facebook and all these other things that's huge successes and like this is going so great. No, it's not. It might be someday,
well,
but
Facebook
if you look
has over $1 billion in revenue now this year.
Who does?
Facebook.
Yep,
over $1 billion. So they're profitable with over $1 billion revenue. And they're the largest
how long did it take to get there? Like, if you look at the amount of money it took to put in there, and all right, they're there now.
A couple $100 billion.
Right, exactly. Now they're there. This was the one company that then made it.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at all the other companies that's following the same model, they're not making it.
Right.
So this is like playing the lottery where there's one guy who's going to win that Powerball.
Right.
And for him, it was totally worth those $10 to buy the ticket. Right. For everybody else following the same model, no, it's not worth it.
Interesting. You make some compelling arguments. I think maybe it depends on where you are in your career. I think for some guys or gals, you know, if you're starting off, I think you're right. People who are new to the space, new entrepreneurs, you do need to get that instinct for making money, like and hustling and building based on revenue. Because I'll be honest, I built my companies like that in the early days. We built Weblogs Inc. If we get a sponsor for Joystick, we launch Joystick.
Right.
And it made us hungry and it made us focused on building great things. But then with Mahalo, I was like, you know what, I'm going to build something big and try to solve a big problem and get a bunch of people. Yeah, then we get to 10, 15 million uniques, and all of a sudden we turn on revenue and boom, we break even.
I think this is the problem. I think
most people can't get that.
Even if they get the 15, 20 uniques, then something happens in the market. If you're relying on something else that's just going to be like that magic switch where you turn on the revenues, then all of a sudden something happens like ad market goes way down or some other external factor like CPMs go way down because there's too much inventory or all of these other things you can come up with.
Right.
You can't bank on that like magic day where it switches over. I don't think it works like that.
It's more risky.
Yes.
It's like you're building something and hoping that the revenue comes, hoping that a business model emerges, hoping that there's a monetization model.
Which I don't understand because there's so many models where the business is there. Selling stuff to people who want to pay for it, where you take more in than it costs you to provide.
And frankly, advertising, which works, and lead generation, cost per click. These things are established and make tens of billions of dollars a year. You can't say that they're not real.
For some companies. I don't think they work very well for the majority of the companies. I think it works exceptionally well for Google because people search and they go there, and Mahalo is similar in that sense. So it can work for gateway services.
Yes.
But there's way too many other companies who think that, oh, well, it works for Google. They make billions of dollars. So it's going to work for me if I just get X number of pages.
I agree with you. There's a lot of people just assume, hey, my advertising is going to work. And they have no idea what it means to sell advertising.
Right.
I agree. I think that, you make a compelling argument. I see both sides of it because when I was your age, I'm 10 years older than you, I think. I'm 39, you're 30.
Yep.
When I was on, and this is your first company you're on.
Yes.
And you've been doing the company for how many years?
I've been involved with 37 Signals for 9 years.
Right. You were very attached to this. You couldn't sell it. Somebody comes and offers you guys $50 million. Can you sell it?
I would turn that down.
Somebody offers you a disproportionate amount for the company. I don't know what the number is that's disproportionate, but if the company makes $10 million a year and somebody offers you 10 times revenue, which would be disproportionate, you wouldn't take it.
Nope. Because the thing is, A, what am I going to do then? B, what
are you going to do with $30 million, $10, $20, $30 million?
The difference.
I have some ideas. Tyler, what would you do with $30 million, $10 million?
The thing is, that
you got a whole chat room. People go, "Oh my God, what do you?" So you would give up making some disproportionate amount of.
I would give up taking a single payday over having a steady profit income stream that I believe will run for the next 20 years.
Interesting. Yes. What if the profits of the 20 years you could get all in one day?
No thanks.
Really?
What am I going to do then? What am I going to do then?
So you're scared of what you would actually do with your time. You're afraid of what it would mean to be truly independent in terms of your wealth.
I'm already independent enough. If I didn't.
But is it scary to you? It would be scary to you to sell it, or is it an emotional thing?
It's a practical thing in many ways. It's a practical thing of once you get to a point where you've made some definition of enough.
Right.
Like the difference between having. Let's say $2 million in the bank and having $10 million in the bank is very small compared to the difference between having like $15,000 in the bank and having $1 million in the bank.
I agree.
So the big jump already happened.
Right.
Like the big jump is over. Everything from here on is very incremental. Like how much better is my life going to be if I have a private jet?
Right.
Versus having a job that I really care about, a company I really care about. I'd much rather have that. Like the material things that comes after a certain point. So
you have a personal love of the brand so much that getting a disproportionate payday would make it very hard for you to sell them. You're that connected to them, and you enjoy it that much.
I enjoy working too much, and I think everybody does. I think that's why you're back. Like this is your third.
Yeah.
Enterprise.
I can't stop.
Exactly.
And This Week in Startups and This Week in Network is the fourth, and TechCrunch 50 was the fifth.
Exactly.
And angel investing in 7 companies the past year.
So people don't stop. So this notion that you're going to sell it for some big payday and then you're going to retire to some mojito island and you're going to sit there on the beach and enjoy everything. It works for 3 to 6 months.
Oh, yeah, but what I'm saying, I'm not saying you have to hang it up. What I'm saying is if you could get all 20 of those years, no non-compete, and you could start another idea the next day, would you do it?
No, because first of all, like if you're not working on your best idea right now, you're doing it wrong. Like you should just be quitting. You should be working on your best idea right now. So I think I'm working on my best idea right now. Like, if I'm going to sell that, I'm going to have to work on my second best idea.
Interesting.
Like, why would I want to do that? Like, if I can just work on my best idea.
If you have this great of an idea now, don't you think ideas, you'll have many more? Do you think that this idea at the age of 20-something that you had is the best idea you'll ever have, David? Or do you think it's possible that you'll have better ideas in the future?
I think there's a very good chance that it is the best idea.
Really? So at 25, you came up with your best idea? Really?
Very likely. I'm not saying that's for certain. I'm saying if you look at any of the big companies right now, tons and tons of them are still banking off their best idea of 20 years ago. If you look at Microsoft, where are they making their money? Office, Windows. All the other bullshit that they did in the last 20 years didn't matter.
Didn't add up.
Exactly.
Xbox, Zune.
It's
singles and doubles.
Exactly.
Singles
versus having like the
big
idea.
Franchises.
Right. And I think that's
Bill
exactly
Gates' second idea, giving away all his money and solving malaria and all these other things, pretty good idea.
That is a good idea. But it doesn't take away from the fact that most companies, and I think to a large extent, most people have a few good ideas.
Are you a capitalist, a socialist? What is your politics?
Capitalist. Absolutely. I want to get as much profit out of what I'm doing as I can. Because I think...
So you like money?
Oh, yeah.
No problem with money.
No problem with money.
There's no like hidden communist, socialist agenda in what you're saying.
No.
You're not. Are you a like Ayn Rand guy or something? Is there some objectivist thing that I need to know about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Like I love money and I love profit, or I should say I love profits because they lead to money.
Right.
But much more than that. It's not just because of that. I believe in profits is the main way of identifying businesses that are doing great for the world.
That's the feedback mechanism.
Exactly.
It's the feedback loop.
You're doing something great for the world.
Money comes in.
Yes.
And if it's profitable money, as opposed to just,
revenue instead of just being eaten up by expenses, then it's not working.
Then it's the feedback's not working.
Yes. And I think there's just too much of that. There's too much focus on, first of all, revenues, which I don't think mean anything. If you can't turn your revenues into profits, who the hell cares? You're just spinning your wheels.
Right. So it's not only the lack of revenues that disgust you. It's a lack of earnings in some cases.
Yes. And there's so many examples of this. I'd much rather have a company that has, let's say, $2 million in revenues and are making $1.5 million in profits, rather than have, and there's plenty of these companies, $100 million in revenues, and they're losing $10 million last season.
Interesting.
Like, there's so many of these high revenue, high headcount, high page views, high all of this stuff that doesn't lead to the thing that matters. When, for me, business is all about profits.
Right.
All the other stuff is just factors that lead into that. So if you can't get to the profit part, you're doing it wrong. I don't give a shit how many people you hire. I don't give a shit about how many revenues you have. I don't give a shit about whether you're public or not. Right. None of it matters if it doesn't lead to profits. And it's sometimes it's infuriating to me because it's such a simple idea. Like, the foundation of business is to generate profits. How can we even talk about anything else if we don't deal with that as the baseline?
Because there has been an outside factor that has come into the industry that has changed what the goal is, and that's the exit.
It fucked it up.
You might say it fucked it up. You might say also it's created another liquidity event. It's created another way, another dynamic in the industry. So it is a weird dynamic that has occurred in capitalism, that the goal doesn't have to be profits. The goal could be scale that somebody else needs and that they have a revenue machine for. So Weblogs Inc. was making, I don't know if I'm allowed to say all these, but anyway, the month that we got bought, we were making like $100,000 or something. The business was sold for 30 times what it was projected to make the next year. Massively disproportionate.
Right.
Massively disproportionate.
Do you actually think they made that money back? I don't think so.
No, I think they have, actually, now with the having Gadget Autoblog at the scale that they're doing it, yeah.
But how long time did it take to make? Do you think that was
6
a
or
reasonable
7 or 8 years
investment then? Like
for
versus,
them?
Yeah.
Or for me to take the money?
No, for you to take the money, all the power in the world. Like,
right.
Like all the power in the world.
And the way I look at it, I got to take care of my family.
Totally.
My mom, my dad.
I'm not like anybody who's presented with a buyout of some sort.
Right.
If they choose to take it, and that's what they want to do. I have no qualms about that at all. Like that's for them to. Like for me, I want to stay in the game. That's me. It's not because
and
it's
I'm
better.
still in the game, but you got a different idea.
Exactly. But what I'm annoyed about is how often big companies end up buying these ideas for outside profits. Like it didn't make financial sense at the time.
Right.
Like if you're buying something for 30, 40, I don't know how many times revenues.
Right.
It doesn't make financial sense. They think they can do some magic trick.
Yeah.
And then they can turn it into a
AOL
gold
buying Bebo, they bought it for $850 million. They overpaid by $500 million to the next highest bidder. I heard a rumor, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. They had like a sealed bidding contest, and
they
bid $850. And I heard, I don't know this for certain, that the next highest bid was $350. They overbid by $500 million. Now the business is tanking, and it's got less uniques than Mahalo.
Exactly. They overbid by $850 million.
They overbid by $800 million, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah. So interesting. With the Weblogs Inc. acquisition, they did grow it from $100,000 when I left. It was doing $1 million a month, so they did make their money back eventually. And that premise was there. They had massive amounts of advertisers. They didn't have the inventory. We had the inventory, but not the advertisers. Peanut butter chocolate, boom, it worked. So you're not against that.
It doesn't work. Very often, the big buyout doesn't work. Like some company gets away with spending years being not profitable, spinning their wheels because somebody else is going to buy him. Then somebody else does buy him, and then they just end up squandering that. It's a graveyard of acquisitions.
Right.
The vast majority of acquisitions do not pan out.
Right.
Yet, still, people keep on buying it, and it feeds into this feedback loop that people build.
Why does that happen? Why do buyers keep buying?
Delusions of grandeur. They think that they're special. They think that this time it's going to work.
Right.
They some sense of insanity here. Like we have this event occurring over and over again, and it keeps not panning out. But now it's going to be.
But once in a while, you do have a YouTube or Google bought AdSense.
Once in a while, you have a Powerball.
Yahoo
once in a while, somebody
Overture.
wins the lottery. Is that a good way to run a business? Betting on the lottery? And in the sense of YouTube, still a bad business. They have not made their money back.
They will. It's pretty clear they're going to.
I would not.
I think they have like $300 or $400 million in revenue.
I was running this idea in my head when I was thinking back earlier from last time these things went through. Hotmail, for example. Do you think Hotmail ever made the $650 million back, plus the running cost, plus the engineering, plus everything?
Microsoft's web business has run at a loss for a long time. I think if you go to Business Insider, Henry Blodge has shown
Another
that year by year.
example of paying a shit ton of money to somebody.
There's been studies that say M&A net has been a loss.
Right. Just like VC has been a loss for the past 10 years.
The top VCs have had tremendous returns. The mid-tier have been flat, which is a small group of people, I should say. So there's this tiny group of people who have tremendous.
Right.
The Sequoias, the Benchmark, whatever, Kleiner Perkins. Then you have a bunch who sort of go sideways and return, a decent amount, but nothing to write home about. And then there's the vast majority that either negative returns or negative compared to the market.
Right.
That model is broken. That's your point. M&A is broken as well. You're correct. We have a broken system that works best for who?
For the guy who gets to sell it, like on the hot chair.
So we have,
which is just
we
so
have a
infuriating
perverse
to me.
system
Yes.
that benefits the entrepreneur. But the entrepreneur is the one's benefiting. Let's not screw it up, people. Delete the episode. Do not tell anybody that this situation works best for the entrepreneurs who are pulling them. You're right.
It's a bubble game.
It is a bubble game.
It's a fake game. And I think it doesn't have to be, because there's an alternative, which is just to build a fucking profitable business, which is supposed to be the goal in the end anyway.
Right.
So can't we just start there instead? Can't we just say, like, instead of having all these entrepreneurs, startup guys, chasing this bubble idea, which, like, I think there's some sense of moral obligation here. Like, it's not about socialism. It's about furthering capitalism, furthering the world,
right,
increasing wealth overall. Like, all these bubble games, they don't end up increasing wealth overall. Like, there's one guy who's going to make out well.
The management team does extraordinarily well.
Right, in a single event. But
right.
And you can't fault them for taking that, but as a whole game, looking at the whole system, it doesn't seem right.
A lot of wasted capital.
Yes.
A lot of people getting laid off constantly.
Right.
And big, huge swings. Boom and bust cycle, boom and bust cycle.
And it doesn't have to be that way. There's
you
a
take
much
a more
simpler
measured
way to go.
approach, which is Europe, which has how many of the leading internet companies?
I don't think it has to be a false dichotomy between those two things.
So
it's
you
not
don't
either you
think
get the
Europe,
bubble or you get...
Well, Europe, you would say, is non-bubble-licious. I mean, they specifically crush the bubble. They don't allow bubbles there because of the factors we talked about, like the risk is on you.
Right.
Here in the United States, it's insane bubble mania, no risk, swing for the fences, raise lots of money. Is there something in between?
Absolutely. I think that's what we're doing. We're in the U.S. Like, I moved to the U.S. in part because of the capitalist system here, which is like lower taxes and LLC and easier ways to get going. But we still went for the profit route.
Right.
We still went for, all right, we're just going to build a sustainable business.
So there is and you guys did raise some capital. Jeff Bezos is an investor and loves this company.
It wasn't raising of capital in the sense of let's spend this capital to build a business.
Right.
By the time we raised capital, this was let's take
safety
something
net.
off the table.
Oh, okay. So that went to the founders.
Exactly. It didn't go as it wasn't for funding the business.
Right. The business was funded, doing well.
Yep.
You
Been
guys
profitable since day one.
So taking a little bit off the table, you don't have to worry.
Exactly.
Great thing. And what do you think of that as you have a lot of these founder shares going on, right? A lot of people, they called it Series F or something, where the founders get to take money out on the table.
Yeah.
Series C round, D round.
Well, I wouldn't want to get into the whole round thing in the first place. But yeah, selling a stake of whatever you have without giving up control, without getting into the VC nonsense of liquidation preferences and all these other bullshit you have to do when you do regular term sheets, can be a good idea.
Right.
And hopefully encourage you to stay in the game longer.
Interesting. There are two different schools here. One is go big, go for the big exit. Another one, you're saying, go for the profits.
I don't think that's how it is, because I don't think the going for the profits is ultimately going for the big too. Like all the big...
Well, Jeff Bezos, your investor, I mean, Amazon is known for not being particularly profitable.
Right now, it's pretty damn profitable.
10 years later. And its return on investment has not been so great, long haul. But it has become a very important, transformative business.
Yes, I agree. It's just that if you look at those singular events where there's going to be the Facebook, there's going to be the Amazon, that's not a category of businesses. Right. You can't fucking just look at the all-stars and then say, this is how the system then works.
But isn't that how the system works? I mean, there's no more mom and pop shops anymore. There's Walmart. There's Whole Foods, not a bunch of local grocers.
That's why we're here, because the wonderfulness of the internet allows for so many more diverse, much smaller businesses in a much easier way. And small is sort of like talking down to it in some sense.
Right.
There's just as much potential for any one of these to make it big someday. Like, I have delusions of grandeur. I think that 37 Signals is going to be a huge company in terms of...
How big could it get? Could it be Microsoft?
Absolutely.
How many more products do you have to create? I mean, how much capital it take?
How many products did Microsoft have?
2.
We have 4. We're already twice as good as Microsoft.
So you have to cut 2.
Right, actually.
Cut the loser.
Right.
So you have 3 and focus more on those.
When you have a product, that's a product where you don't have to scale one-to-one. Like consultant businesses or very labor-intensive businesses, you can't build it large without getting a huge sales force. Something like a product like ours, there's no connection here.
Self-serve.
Yeah, self-serve. Like when we get another 10,000 customers, we don't have to hire another 500 key account managers.
To get into a big corporation, IBM or something like that, you get those people signing up on their own?
Who cares about that?
Well, that might be a site license that might be worth $100 million.
No thanks. Fortune 500, do you know how many companies that is? 500.
500.
Right.
Right.
How many companies are there in the world?
Right.
Millions. Yeah, I'd much rather focus on the millions of companies that are out there rather than just the 500. Because
well, what about, why not both? Why not take the $100 million contract?
Because it changes your company. Because you can't run the kind of company we do and sell to the Fortune 500. Selling to the Fortune 500 takes forever and a day. It takes strippers and steaks. It takes key account managers. It takes bending over backwards.
Did you say strippers and steaks?
Yes.
What are we doing after the show? We're going to Vegas? You're right.
It's a totally different model.
You just don't want that lifestyle. You don't want that grind.
I don't want the grind, and I think it's less profitable.
Interesting. Oracle or Salesforce might disagree.
Look at Salesforce. Salesforce is a great example. I think Mark Benioff is a great guy. I met him a few times. I think horrible business. I would not trade. If we did an even one-to-one switch,
really,
he gets 37 signals, I get Salesforce.
No?
No effing way. Look at their fucking numbers. Their profitability is like 7%.
Right.
That's fucking terrible.
On a big number.
I don't care. That's still so much slop.
Wait, but they make more revenue than you, and you could take it over and make it 20%.
But not many times versus the bullshit they have to deal with of running a 3,000, I don't even know how many people there are.
Thousands of people.
Thousands and thousands of people. Being on the market, blah, 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 blah.
Well, the truth
Quality
is,
of life, I would not
one of the great things about capitalism is that you can, because of this open source system of capitalism and how it works and all the different funding that is available, from angel investors to loans to venture capital to building off revenues, you can make this any type of, a game you want to play. You could have a lifestyle business. You could have something. It could be more. I'm not saying you have a lifestyle business, but you could have a lifestyle business. Yes. I could make a lifestyle business right now. You have a lifestyle business if you wanted to, just out of writing your blog, writing books, and doing speaking gigs.
Yep.
That could be a lifestyle business that makes you $500,000 a year, and for the rest of your life. And guess what? 90% of the time, you're off.
Yeah, totally.
Why not do that instead of 37 signals?
Because I enjoy the 37 signals part more.
So the key is
and I don't believe in the
love.
whole lifestyle. Like, what interests me is scalable businesses, where there's no connection between the amount of capital or resources or whatever that goes in and the amount of profits that comes out.
Yeah.
Like, there is no reason that 37 signals today could not be 100 times as big with only adding, let's say, another 10, 15 people.
Interesting. I have come up with a statistic myself that I am tracking, which is the number of unique visitors per employee in your company.
And looking at something outscale, like look at Craigslist. Like what they have, like 40 people, and they're like the number 4 website in the world.
Okay, somebody in the chat room do math. There's 40 people working at Craigslist. How many uniques do they have a month? And tell us what the number per month is.
Right.
Tell us what the number for Facebook is. How many employees does Facebook have right now? Like 1,500 or 1,000?
Like
and then how many uniques do they have a month? 100 million, 200 million, something like that? Let's get those numbers, put them in here. So unique visitors per employee. No, it's actually...
I think that's a much more interesting...
It is an interesting number because you know what that shows? Efficiency.
Right.
It's like revenue per employee.
That's sort of what I...
Or earnings per employee.
Yes, exactly.
Your earnings per employee must be off the charts.
Yes.
If you guys make $5 million a year and 16 employees, that would be an extraordinary number. $500,000 per employee or something, or 300.
Right. That's the number I care about getting as large as possible. I have no interest in just adding more people to it. Fascinating.
This show is going to go 5 hours. Tyler, you're listening to all this. Do you have anything to add to this crazy discussion?
I'm curious. It seems like a slightly European perspective, and I wonder if he attributes his perspective to having come from Europe.
Interesting.
Absolutely not. So Jason Fried, who's our partner in the business, he's from Chicago. He has exactly the same focus on business. And in my mind, I have a more capitalist approach than most so-called capitalists here in the U.S.
Right.
Again, because it's about
old school capitalism. You're old school capitalism. Not this warped, distorted, go for the big gold, worry about revs later, and get the big exit. You always got the IPO and the exit to get your stock out. It's a pure form of capitalism. Mark Cuban thinks very much like you. I thought very much like you. I still think like you to a certain extent. I do know that. But I do also know that there is this other game going on. There's this other dynamic. And if you have a name like Evan Williams or Mark Zuckerberg at this point, or Mark Pincus, and you can get large amounts of capital for relatively little equity and deploy very big things and go to build massive, massive businesses that are transformative and change the world, you sort of have an obligation to do that in my mind. Because there's so few people on the top of that list who can walk into a venture capitalist or whatever, a private equity firm and say, give me 10, 50, $100 million, I'm going to make something epic. That, wow, if you can do that, it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's like a big director, like if you're James Cameron and you can make Avatar, you're saying he should just make an independent film?
No, I don't think those things are comparable, because I think
they're not.
What is it about Twitter that changed the world? It was the simplicity of it.
Absolutely.
Not the 160 people they have now.
Right.
Not the lack of revenue.
Business could be run on how many people?
One. Not even one. Less than one.
One person could run that business.
Twitter?
Twitter.
Oh, how many?
How many employees would your version of Twitter have? What do you think?
Not 160. I tell you that.
Half that.
Well,
I mean, there are data scaling issues.
I don't even know how.
Trust me, when you look at their data scaling issues and you look at the fact that Cassandra's in 0.5 and they have to basically write code to make it do what they want to do, and I mean, there are some challenges in that business.
Absolutely.
I can tell you.
Let's not demean that for sure.
Let's talk about the news, because I can't keep you here forever. You got to get back to Malibu and surfing or something.
Yes.
Do you write any code now?
I do.
Really?
I still write code. Absolutely.
What is your average day like? Take us through your day while we get Mike in here for the news. Or week, whatever.
Sure. So I do spend a fair amount of time just in our campfire, keeping up with what people are doing, trying to get people to do simpler stuff. One of the things we just implemented recently was the notion of the scope hammer. So we have all these features or extensions we want to make to the software, and we have a tendency, even knowing all this thing, we keep on saying no complexity, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
We often get into it, and it becomes more complex than it needs to be. Sometimes just a role in itself is to just come in and cut down complexity. Let's not do all that. Let's make this simple or feature simpler.
So you have to rein people in, because their feature creep is just
everybody
what happens.
feature creeps. Exactly. So that's just one example of
Mike,
some of the stuff we're doing.
Mike is here to do the news.
All right.
Welcome, Mike. Let's play Lon's news thing anyway. Unless if we have a mic one, we'll play the mic one. But Lon My God, the Twitter comments on this show are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, people are quoting you. D. Harmesh says, selling the Fortune 500 takes strippers and steaks. I love that one. People saying to you, Giacomo says, love your rock-solid approach to building businesses and smacking down at Jason Calacanis. It's a smackdown. Atagarasi, I love the way DHS is correcting the wrong args, and I hate the way Jason is condescendingly saying interesting after each one of these. Ricky says, great debate. Paula says, seriously geeky right now. Jason Rubinoff's great. Some things never change. Selling to the Fortune 500. People love the strippers and steaks. Somebody commenting in Greek. Amazing to see two legends in the game. That's very nice of people to say.
It's also so much more fun this time. I don't like coming on shows where everybody agrees.
No,
the interesting part is when there's different opinions.
Absolutely.
And there's pushback and sort of activity.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think things change as you get through your career, right? And so you would argue that maybe when you guys got to exit, life changed a little bit. You didn't have to worry, right?
That's what
is a little freeing.
It is, but not really. It's the thing you think about that day, that week, that month, and then it just goes in the background. Which is why I'm actually thinking, since I've been with 37 Signals for almost a decade now, stuff isn't that different.
Right.
And I don't want it to be that different.
You enjoy what you do.
That.
Right.
Exactly.
But it is nice that you don't have to worry about the rent this year or next year. And do you remember what it was like when you had to worry about that and had to hustle?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not
Which is better.
Absolutely, it's better not to have to worry about these things. But the thing is, that event comes so much sooner than thinking about the $1 billion.
Right.
The not worrying about rent event is what, $500,000 or something? As soon as you have that, you could live for years and not worry about that anymore. So taking that...
You're not a materialistic guy. You don't care if you live in 1,000 square feet or 10,000. Not your thing.
I care. Again,
you do.
I care about the profits. So no, I don't have a fancy for big houses, but I absolutely want 37 Signals to be as massively and outrageously profitable as it's humanly possible.
Because you want the money, or is because you want the success, or just you want to have done it? Is it the scorecard? Is it just the great feeling that I made a business that has $100 million in profits? What is it that drives you?
Like, as we talked about earlier, I think it's like a measure of success of the impact you're having on the world. If you are outrageously profitable...
It is a scorecard.
It is the scorecard in sort of the global scorecard of how is your business affecting
So you are a true capitalist. I agree with you. Respect for that.
But also, the money is nice.
It's nice to have money. So if you wind up making $1 billion, you're not going to buy a jet?
Probably I would. Like,
right.
At that point, but that's just not the driving factor. If it gets to that point,
I'll tell you what,
great.
I'm going to translate for everybody what is actually going on during this program. 37 Signals is in the middle of a bidding war between Microsoft and Google, and he is jacking up the price, convincing them how much he loves this business and running it every day. It's an awesome discussion, and we're going to have you back on the program to talk more about your story, because we didn't even get into how you met Jason Fried, and we didn't get into all these different things, but we're going to destroy the audience if we go for 4 hours. Let's go through some news stories, because if you did this good on the interview, the news stories will be even better.
Sure. By the way, do you mention the book on the show?
Oh, I didn't really.
What? We have
a new book out.
Yes.
We just released it on Tuesday. It's called Rework.
Rework.
We just got word that it's on the New York Times bestseller list.
Congratulations.
And it's on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. So that's pretty exciting.
And what in the book?
It's basically, like, as I said, I've been working for 37 Signals for almost a decade. It's all the best experiences from that decade distilled into, I think, like 89 essays, very short essays, all about what we think about why not to raise money, why not to hire workaholics,
right?
Why to do less, why to undo the competition, all of these things. Actually, a ton of what we've been talking about here is in the book in various forms.
Right. And we disagree on fire the workaholics, and I say you got to have people who are workaholics. You have to really crush it 70, 60, 70, 8 hours a week, because your competitors are going to be doing that. And you say, no, zig where you zag.
Absolutely. And this is why I want to be in a business I can be in for the next 20 years. I'm not going to be in a business for the next 20 years where I work 80 hours a week.
I agree. You don't have the competitive spirit to go up against Microsoft's operating system or their Office suite.
We're going up against a bunch of this shit. Like, like for Basecamp, a huge
but you're not going after
refugees
Gmail
for SharePoint.
You're not going after Gmail
because that problem doesn't interest me.
Right.
So,
but it also is convenient. It's all convenient that the big problems aren't ones you're interested in.
Well, how is managing projects not a big project?
That's a small thing, and your software doesn't have a lot of features by your own admission.
Sure. That doesn't mean it's not a big problem.
But you're making the light software for each category, correct? Like the simple
version.
The simple version.
I would call it
so light. If your strategy is to make the simple version of things, then you don't have to work as hard. But if you're going up against a big problem, like I am going to build a car company like Tesla and go against the big boys, you're not working 30 hours a week and taking Fridays off, because you will get your ass kicked by the people who are. And that's where your logic breaks down. You're not going after Google. You're not launching rockets to the moon. You're launching the simple version of software. That's why you have a simple version of
do you think Google succeeded because somebody worked 80 hours a week?
Absolutely, 120.
No.
And it was because they bought AdSense. But they busted their ass. Yes, sleeping under their desk. That's how Yahoo was built. That's how Google was built. That's how Microsoft was built. Do you know the work ethics of these people?
I think it's terrible. I don't think that's the indicator of their success. I think there's a mistaken
correlation. I thought you said before that the money is the scorecard. They have much more money than you.
Absolutely. But
so
it's not because of putting in more hours.
Oh, yes, it is. Those guys, they put in tremendous hours.
Yes, but that's not the correlation. The correlation is the great execution on a wonderful idea at the right time.
Right, but there are competitors. You know how many people had the idea for an operating system? Do you know how many people had the idea for PCs? Michael Dell beat them because he out-hustled them. He was smarter and out-hustled them. Bill Gates, smarter and out-hustled people. You know what Steve Jobs' work ethic was like during that time period? Tremendous.
The 30-hour week. I'm not attributing that to their success. Yeah. I'm attributing, like, if you're working 40 hours a week, if you are the smarter person who makes better decisions, you are going to win. You're not going to beat me just because you work twice as hard as I do. You're going to beat me because you work smarter.
All the research on talent, and if you listen to the book, Talent is Overrated, says the exact opposite. People who work harder and do more deliberate practice beat people. The best players in the NBA, the best piano players, the best chess players are the ones who do deliberate practice. All of the science and technology out there and research that has been done on success and dexterity and different behaviors is done based upon how many hours you work, and the 10,000 hours in Malcolm Gladwell's book. It's the exact opposite. You're basing this on the fact that your world experience is building light software. If you built the heavy software and you had real competitors, who's your competitor? You don't have any light competitors. You found a niche, which is awesome for you.
We have tons
but you're
of
not solving the big problem. Anyway, I'm going to read the book, and you and Jason are going to come on, and we're going to do this again.
All right.
We should do this actually
I'm
live.
game for that.
It's pretty exciting.
Do it live?
No. You could be right. I could be wrong. I'll tell you what you're right about. I'll tell you what you're right about.
Likely.
It is nice to find a very profitable business
Yes.
and coast and make the money.
You're not coasting.
Well, I'm saying you're not working as hard. That is cool. If you can make that work, if you can find the, work 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and make triple the living, trust me, that's Tyler's whole thing, man. This guy was on the beach trading stocks for 2 hours a day, and then he came to work for me. Now he's working $70, $80 a day. He wants to get back to Thailand. Look at that guy. He was desperate to get back to Thailand. Here's the book, Rework. ASP is poison. Underdo the competition. Meetings are toxic. I agree with that one. Fire the workaholics. Hey, that's for my thing. Am I mentioning this book?
I don't know.
Boy,
this is absolutely that essay.
That is that
which
essay.
Was,
emulate drug dealers.
Uh-huh.
Give them a little bit of the crack. Give them a little bit for free.
Yep.
Pick a fight. You guys did that pretty well. Fight up. You guys were nobodies. You fought with me. And you get no. It's the other way around. Planning is guessing. I agree with that. I never write business plans. People ask me to write a business plan. I say no. I never write a business plan. Inspiration is perishable.
You got to act on it right now.
I like that. Okay, yes.
Don't take your passion, shove it in the shelf, and
see, this is the thing. I think we're more in sync than maybe this interview has alleged or demonstrated, because I do think sometimes ASP is poison. Getting things done like immediately and not doing it right, is that sort of the point there?
Yeah, urgency is overrated. Most things do not need to be done as quickly as you think they need to be done.
See, this is interesting, because I do say in my company, like, speed is everything for a startup, but I guess it has to do with your
but it's more of the long term. It's not speed of tomorrow. What matters is whether you're putting some good shit out over the course of a period of time.
What I tell people is it's a marathon and a sprint. It's a marathon filled with sprints.
It's more a marathon than a sprint.
It is more a marathon than a sprint, but I like sprinting a couple of miles in the marathon.
Yes.
Underdo the competition. I think that's about the feature bloat.
Yep. Less features, less
complexity. More elegant. I actually have that is an issue I have as an entrepreneur, doing too many features and pulling back and doing the ones we do better.
We say do half a product instead of a half-assed product.
I like that. Meetings are toxic. I only do stand-ups. We have a stand-up rule here. I hate meetings.
Absolutely.
Ugh. Yeah, we don't have too many meetings here.
We do stand-ups. You do it for 5 minutes.
Right.
Coffee table.
Much better.
Make the decision, move on.
Absolutely, because if you make the wrong decision, you'll know quicker, and then you just change it. You just switch back to the other one, the second best decision.
Absolutely.
Much better. Picking a fight.
This is turning into be too friendly here.
It's becoming a love fest. Let's go to the news. All
right, so the big story this week, the Google Viacom dispute.
Yes.
New documents were leaked that showed basically, at least alleging that Google has evidence that Viacom itself, across 16 different marketing agencies and all these things, had been posting their own content on YouTube. So what do you make of this? Who do you believe? Do you believe Viacom? Do you believe Google? Obviously, there's an interdependency between both companies, because Viacom's gotten a lot of publicity for their shows on Google, yet at the same time, Google was sort of dependent on that content being on their site as Google was growing. So
I wrote a piece back in the day, before I knew Roloff Botha, who was the investor at Sequoia, who's now on my board, and I wrote, talk about uncomfortable, I wrote a post that YouTube is not a real business. It's a pretty famous post when I had my blog. And I said, this whole business is based off of copyright infringement. The reason that they exploded in terms of traffic was in large part, not only, but in large part due to the fact that Saturday Night Live didn't put their clips up. ESPN didn't put their clips up. And now users were putting up clips because they had capture cards, et cetera. And there was that sort of was not that big of a deal. Right. They had Flash, so it was easy to do. And they won the search engine rankings. You type something in. If your competition for Lazy Sunday is nobody, you win. And they just won the SEO war, and it was a business built off of, in large part, maybe not totally, I don't know what the percentage is, they would know.
If you look at all the top videos, though, I just saw a list of the top videos on YouTube. They're all like the history of dance and like some baby giggling, and like there's a huge part of YouTube.
Well, the other ones have been taken down. But there are, if you took, I don't know, some...
But then it doesn't really matter. If you can get 250 million people to watch the history of dance and like 150 million to watch a baby giggle,
right.
like all right, you got a fair amount of audience there,
but
just on that.
That's true. But I do think in the early days, a lot of it was based on that sort of people finding stuff on there. I know probably more than half of what I watch on YouTube, even to this day, is not rights cleared, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. I mean, some of it is now being put on by CBS or other people. So, but that doesn't mean that YouTube broke any laws because of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the fact that they are a common carrier. And they're just like the phone company. You can't blame the phone company if somebody uses a phone call to, rob a bank. Just like you can't blame a car company if somebody, uses a car in a getaway. Like it's not Volvo's fault that the robbery happened. It's the robbers. It's the individuals who put that content up there. It's their fault, and it's YouTube's job to take it down.
And also, is that really such a bad thing? There's so many shows that I got aware of because of YouTube. You get a clip, you see it, you get hooked, and then you don't want to watch that fucking little stamp. You want to watch the real thing.
Except now it's an HD, and you can and I have a Mac Mini on my 52-inch screen at home, and I can full screen it on HD.
Sure, but that wasn't. That's not how it was in the beginning. Yeah.
Right. Well, what's interesting too is the business model. I mean, Hulu. People have been questioning the viability of Hulu from a financial standpoint.
Right.
Do you still think that it's a viable
the CPMs on Hulu are higher than CPMs on television. Yeah. You can't fast forward the ads, and the ads are interactive. You can click. You can get a customer lead out of them. And they make you click, so you absolutely have to look at the logo of the company at the very least and click to start playing again. It doesn't autoplay, right?
Yeah.
So I watch a lot of Hulu. Hulu is, if they could immediately switch everybody to Hulu and get them off of broadcast and satellite and cable, they would do it. That would be a much better delivery mechanism if every time you had to hit your remote control to OK through the commercial, and there was no fast forwarding. They just can't put that genie back in the bottle for PVRs.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's going to be he said, she said. It's going to end in a settlement.
Yeah.
Google will wind up giving. My prediction is Google gives $300 or $400 million to Viacom, and Viacom gets some other considerations on Google.
Which is another ding against YouTube being a successful business. Now they're another $300-400 million in the hole. They have to earn that back.
I think there's a couple of $100 million in escrow from that deal. So I think that maybe $200-300 million was held back for that deal. That being said, they built a tremendous business. They were great entrepreneurs. I don't think they broke the law, and I don't think that the evidence coming out says they broke the law. They understood the DMCA as common carrier protection, and I don't think the entertainment industry acted in good faith in their dealings. And as a matter of fact, I know they didn't act in good faith. They could have just used the tools that YouTube provided to turn off the content as it came out, and they would have been fine.
Right.
Viacom was like, we're not going to use your tools. You're responsible. And it's actually like, that's not meeting them halfway. And that's not true. They're not responsible. It's common carrier. Just like if I had an FTP company or a hosting company, Rackspace or PowerVPS or whoever, or EC2 is not responsible for people putting up pirated stuff. They're responsible for taking it down when they find out about it, which is the same for YouTube. The reason why Viacom is so upset, they got left at the altar. They desperately wanted to buy that business. The reason why Viacom fired the head of MTV back in the days because he didn't buy MySpace. Sumner Redstone doesn't understand the internet so well, I think, and was kind of pissed off, and he couldn't buy YouTube. Therefore, he's suing them. But all people across Viacom were uploading clips constantly. They have all that evidence. It's going to come out. This whole thing is a waste of time.
Yeah.
They should just give them $100 million and some advertising or something and call it a day. But it's run by Sumner. This is one of the things about these big media conglomerates. Sumner Redstone, Rupert Murdoch, Barry Diller. When you have somebody up there who's very principled and who's been in the business for a long time, these old school guys, you steal their content, they're going to the mat. They are not afraid of a lawsuit. They're not afraid of spending $25 million in a lawsuit. They've done that their whole career. I mean, these guys are old school, gangster, like, we will fight. They're not, like, going to roll over. I think that's what
Google, come up with some better ideas that could actually use this shit to promote their businesses and so on.
I don't think they're interested in that. I think they're interested in, fighting the legal fighting and getting their revenge on YouTube.
Right.
That's what this is about. I mean, why is this still going on? It's so over. It's so moot. Like you're saying, this is such an opportunity for them, and they know it's an opportunity for them. So why are they still fighting? If I was Viacom, if Sumner Redstone put me in charge of digital strategy, this is what I would say to Google. I want $1 billion in AdSense and ads on YouTube for the next 10 years. So I want $100 million per year in free advertising based on this very low CPM. And you know what Google would do? Here you go. And then you know what I would do? I would build competitors to Google's products and use their own traffic to build my traffic. That would be the
Machiavellian scheme brewing here.
That's what I would do. I mean, I don't mean to advise. Here you go. Message. Somebody, a super fan can cut this. Message to Sumner Redstone and the Viacom team. You are successfully dragging Google and YouTube through the court system. We understand you feel you're wronged, but there is a bigger picture here. Google has a massive amount of advertising inventory. You could use that to build many different projects. So instead of having this court case continue on, offer Google the ability to give you $100 million per year in advertising for your software, hardware, music, movies, television shows, cable channels, anything. But specifically, internet companies. Go buy a bunch of small internet companies, use the $100 million in advertising to get users for them, and you'll be a lot further along than you would have been if you bought YouTube for $1.6 billion. End of message. Superfan will cut that, and it will wind up at Sumner Redstone's desk. You can be guaranteed of that. Somebody's got his email in the audience.
Yeah,
the show's getting bigger.
We got a big fan base for the show, so. And the new site that just launched, I mean.
This weekend looks pretty good. People are, it's like 75,000 people downloading every episode right now in the first 2 weeks, I think. It's amazing. It's getting popular. You know why? Because when you type in startup, it's the only thing that comes up. There's no competition. I mean, that's really, when you find a vertical where there's not being serviced. I mean, I think a lot of your products fit in this. It's like you were the first guys to have web-based, cloud-based services. I mean, you were cloud before there was cloud. So, like, oh my God, this is a dream come true. Basecamp. I remember when that was a long time ago when Basecamp came out. I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. 94?
2004.
2004. I was like, 94. What? Okay, next story.
Another story. So Kindle for Mac was released this week, but basically allows you to sync between your Kindle device to your Mac. We've had the iPhone app for a while, and I think this is interesting because we have the iPad about to be released.
Yes.
And the new iBook store, which essentially has the same type of offering. How do you think this will work? Do you think Apple will approve an application for the iPad, for the Kindle store? How do you think that dynamic will play out?
They absolutely have to. If Apple does not, it's a major antitrust issue. And it would be major, major bad mojo for them with consumers. A lot of the same people who are going to buy a tablet are ones who have a Kindle. And if Apple makes it impossible for you to move your Kindle stuff over there, they're going to get sued by Amazon or other people. It's going to look really bad. Antitrust people.
It'd also just be stupid.
It'd be
what
stupid.
Does Apple make their money on? Selling you a freaking iPad for $700. Why would you not want all the reasons in the world to buy a $700 iPad? So getting all the Kindle content is like a gift. Like, it works for both parties. Yeah. Apple want to sell hardware. That's where they make their money. Like, most of their software is either given away for free or really cheap. And Amazon wants to sell more books. It's full win-win around. The only thing that's going to lose here is that the Kindle hardware is going to lose.
Yes.
I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of Kindle buyers around.
Well, it's going to be interesting because, see, I haven't held. Have you held the iPad
Nope.
yet? I haven't held it. But from what I'm told, and this is from Walt Mossberg and Kara Swisher, like, it's heavy. And from what I understand from people who have Kindles, it's smaller and lighter. I don't know. People in the chat room, tell me exactly what the weight specs are versus these two things. But I think it's significant. And so if it's, you're on a flight, and I got to have this big, heavy Mac product,
but think
with the
about
color
it
screen when the battery dies.
Having multiple devices. Thing is, if I bring a Kindle, I have a Kindle. I have both of them. If I bring one of those, I'm also bringing my laptop. So you're not getting that weight.
A crippled laptop, yes, but you can check your email.
Right, exactly.
And you can surf the web.
Program or do any of the other things you write something. Like, when you bring an iPad, I don't have to also bring my laptop.
Right.
You have one device. And I think that's just going to win out.
I'm interested to see if that will actually work, because I need a full keyboard, because I write thousands of words a day.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing.
My iPhone is just like, so I can't use an iPhone for email. It is so annoying. Like, I have to use a BlackBerry where I can really pound out.
I thought that in the beginning, and now I've gotten really fast on the iPhone keyboard. So
every email I get from an iPhone user, misspellings. Tons of misspellings. And I can't take it. And, I mean, it would be nice if the iPad had a USB port. I mean, you're an Apple fanboy, right? You love Apple products.
Absolutely. Apple all the way.
It is a little frustrating sometimes, Steve, without, like,
that's
the control of the App Store.
Well, that part, I think they're absolutely wrong.
Right.
But most of the parts are like not having enough ports and so on. Like, I'm a huge fan of the MacBook Air People are ranting and raving about, oh, it only has one USB port and so on. That's exactly why I love Apple. I love that Apple are a company capable of making hard choices. Right. Just say, all right, fuck it, let's drop the floppy drive. There's going to be all these people up in arms.
Right. No CD-ROM.
We're going to charge ahead. Yeah, exactly. Air doesn't have a CD drive.
I love it.
Exactly. That's exactly why it's small, it's thin.
Yeah.
They're willing to make compromises.
Right. And one USB port, if you really want, you can get a splitter.
Totally.
If you have to. However, it is frustrating sometimes, you have to admit, with Apple products. The store is frustrating. The fact that you can't use any MP3 player with iTunes. I mean, he does take it too far.
Absolutely. The control part takes overhand sometimes. I think on the Apple or in the App Store, it's just bad. But on the whole, I still appreciate the offering.
You haven't tried an Android phone yet? Nexus 1 or anything?
I've seen people use it, and that alone was enough to turn me off.
Really? What did you like about it?
It looked like a programmer did it.
Yeah.
And like,
not
I'm a programmer. Non-elegant, sort of, everything just didn't feel right. Like, Apple just has this aesthetic and this precision that's just uncanny. Nobody else cares so much about the totality of the experience.
I mean, they left out,
Steve Jobs.
They did leave out cut and paste for how long?
I didn't care.
Like 2 years. I mean, it made me a little crazy because I'm cutting and pasting paragraphs. I'm trying to do an email. Oh, yeah. Let alone URLs. You had to, it's like, oh, you can't. Oh, you have a URL you want to retweet? No.
But I think this
memorize the bit.ly.
I'm
literally trying to memorize a bit.ly to retweet a URL.
But this was the perfect point of, like, consumers will go for less. When it's better designed, they will go with somebody who's under.
They'll make sacrifices, yes. And the iPad, just one of our super fans here, 1.5 pounds, and the Kindle, 10 ounces. Thank you, Greg Minton. So it's twice as heavy.
I think the interesting thing for me is, whether it's a consumption device, obviously, how it's going to be as a productivity advice.
It's not going to be much of a productivity device. It's going to be surfing the web, reading books, listening to music. Yeah.
Which is what most people do most of the time.
Yeah, most people consume. You're not going to be typing a lot of emails on it. You're not going to be writing a lot of code on it. If you do, you're going to bring a keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a massive. The other thing is, I don't think it's a great content creation device, which I thought was the leaving out the camera part I thought was particularly weird because I thought that Skype and video conferencing would be brilliant on this thing.
Me too.
I guess so. You're going to get all of us dopes to pay for it twice.
Yes.
Okay, keep going. Last story.
Last story. So another sort of Apple-related story. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek announced at South by Southwest some new data on his service, Spotify, the music downloading streaming service. It's in 6 countries now, 320,000 paid subscribers, 7 million users. It's in closed beta in the U.S. I know you've talked about this before.
I have Spotify. I have a press account.
You do have an account. Unfortunately,
I'll give you my login. You can try it.
Will iTunes ever offer an on-demand downloading service, and when do you think they'll do it? Imminent.
It's imminent. My guess is this year you will have that.
Flat rate subscription, get access to everything.
I have Rhapsody. I'll tell you, it's $12 a month. I have Rhapsody. I had Napster for $6 or $7 a month, and I have Spotify. Mm-hmm. And I do not buy music anymore, very rarely. If I really love something and I want to listen to it at the poker table, maybe I will. Or I listen to it in the car. But in the car, I have satellite radio. That's fine for me. When I'm on a plane, I listen to audiobooks from Audible. And when I'm at home, I have a Sonos system where I pull up Rhapsody, I pick a genre. Well, now that I got the kid, I'll pick kids' music, and it's got it all there organized. When you pick children's music, it's like, here are the most important top artists. And it tells me these are the 20 top artists. I didn't have to go do any research. It was just there. And then I pick the top artists I listen to and go, oh, that sucks. Then I pick the next one, oh, that is pretty good. Then I listen to music with my daughter. Or I go to Pandora, and I pick Dire Straits, and I play my channel. And Rhapsody. So it's obviously a much better user experience. Much better than collecting a library and having to organize it. Think about how much collective time has been wasted on CDs and collecting them and ripping them. It's so much easier to have everything at your fingertips. The cost, $12 a month, is $150 a year. Yeah. $150 a year is 10 CDs. 10 CDs, which is like that, or every album ever known to man. The only thing you give up is portability. But you'll have Pandora. The Tesla Model S has 4G in it. You can listen to Pandora in your car. It's built into the Tesla Model S. It's 3G and 4G in the dashboard. Can't buy the car without it. I mean, I guess you could not get the subscription. So streaming is going to be it. That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
There'll be no more buying of music. The idea of buying music, I think, is going to go away.
I mean, the only thing for me is I'm a huge. All my playlists in iTunes built on ratings, play counts. So
Spotify, much better playlists.
Yeah.
There's a Playlist UK site, and I got Bob Dylan covers in other languages. And I was like, this is incredible. And Spotify has all the German albums, all the, albums from Denmark, all the albums from France. Like, I'm listening to people doing German versions, which is not German covers of Bob Dylan. You may not want to listen to, but at least I know I've heard them. But French, I mean, I'll tell you something. Bob Dylan songs, folk songs, sound really good in French. And you can't get that on Rhapsody. You can only get that on Spotify.
Right. And
you can't find that in the iTunes store. I don't know where to look.
Yeah, the iTunes recommendation engine is just terrible. Like the Genius feature is just garbage.
It is so. Are you on any of these services?
No, but I wouldn't bet against them over the long term. Over the long term, we're all going to have internet available all the time.
Yeah.
Like for me, my personal music is just I listen to a smaller set over and over again.
Right.
So I don't know, but I mean, it's obviously the way to go. It's not one. It's just like something like EC2.
Yeah.
Like we don't use it right now. We actually went back from EC2 on some things.
Why did you do that? Because it's speed?
It's cheaper.
Cheaper. I agree with that. We have 250 servers at Mahalo in 2 locations. It's much cheaper for us to do that than have managed hosting or
run it on a
cloud.
cloud.
You have a very. I think when you get very large.
Yes, that's exactly what we found. We have like, especially for data, like we're not going to use S3 as the main thing anymore because we could just do it so much cheaper ourselves. But that's just a lagging indicator. Like it's a function of time.
I think the top sites have a hard time using the cloud except for expandable tasks or something.
Right.
So some part of the application you can put in there.
But it's going to be there. It's obvious that it doesn't make sense for all of us to run our own data centers.
They've got to do something with the costs at the high end.
Right.
It seems like they won't do. The reason they're not doing that in cloud, I have to watch This Week in Cloud Computing, but is the reason they're not doing that on the high end because they don't want to have that pricing go down to the low end for the smaller clients?
I don't know exactly what it is, and some of it is when you already have system administrators, you're already paying for that functionality of having a human on board to do it. Like they got to pay somebody to do it. So like it gets cheaper for you when you just look at the hardware cost. If we start factoring in all salaries on it, maybe it's not cheaper. But we need these people anyway.
Right.
So
that's the other thing too is the technology moves so quickly that your ISP or your cloud hosting company, they're probably not going to be screwing around with Cassandra right now. They're going to be busy with Hadoop from 2 years ago. They're always going to be...
Yeah, that's some of it. For us, it was just a matter of cost. Just looking at how much does it cost to store 1 gigabyte.
Right.
If we're going to do it ourselves with the most aggressive pricing we can get from the vendors versus putting on S3, better to do it ourselves. But S3 still worked for the... Like, we've been running S3 for the last, 2 or 3 years. It was awesome. Like, it's a great way to build your business. You don't go out and buy hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of hardware on day one. You'd be a moron.
So now you're buying all this hardware, huh?
Exactly. We just wrote some very nasty checks for a ton of hardware because we're now at the point where it makes sense that we can make a big capital expenditure.
And did EC2 want to play ball with you and lower the price, or no? They were just like, you can't go any lower?
Part of that was just it's not quite there yet. The instances were not quite large enough. There's a bunch of concerns on that. But on S3, part of what I like about S3 and those services is it's not hackle pricing. Like, I fucking hate dealing with enterprise vendors.
Oh, the worst.
Every single invoice we got.
I can't take it.
Like, the numbers are ridiculous.
CDNs? Ugh.
Exactly.
Can you just give me the price?
Right.
No. Let's have a phone call.
Exactly. And then we got to hackle back and forth until it's
how
half
many
of
months
what
do you want to commit to?
Right.
None.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like trying to get DoubleClick to give you a deal.
I hate it. So it's so much better. Like the cloud model obviously is better. It's just a matter of when the finances.
This is why I love Google as a company. They're just like, you can use our service.
Yep.
Or you can leave.
Yes.
Or you can come back. Or you can turn it on and off 3 times in one day.
And you don't have to talk to anybody.
And you don't have to talk to anybody. Just give me my goddamn service, and I'm out. It's so much easier. And you know what's easy, too, is WebSpy. Thank you to WebSpy for sponsoring the show. Monitor all your activity on your network. Speaking of networks, monitor what's going on with your mail servers, your web host, analyze for traffic levels, patterns, errors, and more. It is a total log analysis solution. And make sure you thank the sponsors. It's a really great idea. If you're a fan of the show, it's your Geary. It's your humble honor. It is your duty to thank the sponsors. So go ahead and say thank you to @WebSpy on your Twitter account. Thank you to @PowerVPS and @DNA Mail. And, of course, Ustream. The quality of Ustream video. You seen this over here? It's just it's getting better
it's getting
and better.
really, really good.
I don't know what they're doing over there. I guess because they have all that money, but they are really... Isn't it amazing how web streaming is just...
Gotten good.
It's gotten good.
Yeah.
It was like 5 years ago. It was like not even possible.
Right.
No, it's not possible to do live streaming. And now it's just like, oh yeah, fire up a Ustream. You've got your own cable channel. It is fascinating.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, the iPhone app is great too. You can use that a lot.
I saw people running around. I had people accosting me. It's a little annoying, the iPhone application. because basically everybody is running around South by Southwest drunk, going, "Hey, California!"
And then you're on Ustream.
Yeah, and I'm I'm not coming out of the party. I put my glasses on because I'm not like drinking heavily, but I don't, it's like, and then that's going to wind up on like some.
It's on the internet forever.
Some gawker post. I'm just like, oh, please leave me alone. Gosh, oof. How long are you staying in LA for? Just the winter?
Yep, I'm staying here until end of April, when it's safe to come back to Chicago.
Huh. Compare and contrast Chicago, Malibu?
The nature out here, the weather out here, everything about just the environment is so much nicer out here.
Yeah.
But city life of Chicago kicks city life of LA any day of the week.
It's probably true. You ever done a Temescal Canyon hike, Santa Monica Mountains, any of that stuff yet?
No.
You got to do some hikes.
Yeah, I got to, absolutely.
I'll take you up Temescal Canyon. That's the best one. Thank you for filling in for Lon. Tyler, anything to add? Anything we need to know about? Anything
Great
upcoming?
episode. I think we were overdue for some heated exchanges on this show. We need a little bit more of that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. So thank you to the sponsors, and thanks to the crew, Emily and Kenny. Great job. And This Week in Twitter is 11 a.m. Fridays. This Week in Android, 4 p.m. Fridays, which is, I think, an hour from now. This Week in Cloud Computing is Wednesdays at 3 o'clock. And this Sunday, congratulations to my good friend, poker buddy, and partner on the thisweekin.com network, Kevin Pollak, is celebrating his 1-year anniversary this Sunday. What time is the show Sunday? Is he on 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock? 3 p.m. Sunday Pacific time. He's going to have all his previous guests, well, not all of them because that would be about 50 or 60, but he's going to have a good number of them here, and it's going to be a raucous show. I will be here as well. This Sunday, tune in to kevinpollakschatshow.com, and we'll see you all. Thanks for coming, David. You were a great guest. I think this is going to be one of the, what do you think, Tyler, is going to rank in the top 5 shows?
I want to see after you read the book and get them both on. That's going to be the
I got to have Jason Fried on, definitely.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh my God, Jason Fried and Jason Calacanis are always fighting. And I'm like, I don't even know the guy. I'm not fighting with him. I think 37 Cells was great. It's amazing how this internet stuff happens.
Yes.
Very easy for people to hate each other over the interwebs and Twitter. It's very hard for people, intelligent people in person. They're actually like, I want to hang out with this guy. I'm going to invite this guy over to my house for dinner. All right. We'll see everybody next time on This Week in Startups.
Spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.